Well, I have more muscle. And so,
Wow.
as I aged, I got more and I'm still getting more and I'm getting stronger. So you asked about the goals that I have, and I don't really have aesthetic goals because I look how I want to look, but I do
Mhm.
have some strength goals. And three of them are do a body flag. By the time I turn 60, I want to be able to do a body flag
Wow.
and a planche and a front lever. Those three things. Because I don't know anybody over 40 that can do all three of those. And I
No.
want to do it at 60. So I'm training hard for that. Got 8 more months to do it. I can already do a flag, but the planche and the front lever getting closer and closer. So making progress. So that's kind of the goals that I have. But I'm in the best shape I've been. When I was tower running, which is competitive stair racing, so where
Yeah.
we run up
I'm the
the inside
stairmaster.
stairwells.
Mhm.
Well, this is running up actual stairs. So
Oh
this
wow.
is a sport where you run up skyscrapers on the inside stairwells, and it's a race. You get a timing chip and everything. And when I was doing that, my cardio was in the best shape ever. But now I have exceptional cardio, not that kind of cardio, but better strength. And so I feel like I'm more well-rounded
Nice.
in my
Okay.
fitness.
Not
Yeah.
the stairs are the one thing that prove your cardio level, I would
Oh
say.
gosh, yes. We
You get
call yeah.
exposed.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, we call tower running the hardest sport you never heard of. And it's actually really popular, especially in Europe. But there's over 100 races here in the US every year. So I traveled all over and got in the top 10 for 5 of the 10 years I was tower running, and under an hour of exercise per week. And the other guys that were in the top 10, they'd ask me, "Hey, what's your training like?" And I'd tell them that, and they'd just get mad because I thought I was lying about it. But it's my methods, that make that possible. And I've invented a lot of time hack methods so people can
Wow.
get in crazy good shape without a lot of time.
Wow. Okay, so let's talk about it. What are some of the hacks? First of all, I want you to dispel one hack. One
Yeah.
thing that's fake, people spend a lot of their money on. Like longevity is a big trend right now, and people have life hacks that are scams. So dispel one and then give us the ones that you would tell us about.
Well, gosh, there are so many to choose from. And I address a lot of them in my book, Cracking Your Calorie Code. But I think as far as anti-aging goes, because you mentioned that, is that age really is just a number. And it's about your attitude more than anything. Because if you start saying, "Oh, I can't do that anymore," or "I'm too old for that," or you visualize yourself as getting old, then you will. You're going to manifest that. And so, however, and they've done a lot of research on this, and the one thing, the thread that connects all the blue zones, you guys probably have heard of blue zones on the planet where people age, over 100, and there's a lot of them. The thread is their attitude. So the diets are different, the lifestyles are different, but one common thread is those people look forward to new adventures as they get older. And they look forward to getting wiser and all the benefits of aging instead of fearing it or succumbing to it. And I've also heard the quote, several anti-aging experts say this. I wish I could say it was mine because it's brilliant, but I can't. It's called, they define aging as the aggressive pursuit of comfort.
Yeah.
So think about that. If you're willing to be uncomfortable and do hard stuff and push yourself, that's kind of the key, mentally and physically, to slowing the aging process. But if you're going to sit down all day and you're going to watch TV, or you're going to retire at 65 and then watch football, and that's your goal, or travel, sit on airplanes and then sit in taxi cabs and be comfortable because, I'm retired. I deserve to be comfortable. So I'm going to sit down a lot and I'm going to eat ice cream and I'm going to do what's easy. Well, you're going to be dead in 5 years. So just don't do that. And do the hard stuff, do the challenging stuff, and be excited about aging. So that's really the myth that people say, is that as I get older, I'm supposed to slow down, or I'm supposed to be careful, or I can't do that anymore. Just stop thinking that way, because that's a myth. Age is just a number, and that's the fact.
To be honest with you, that's a little bit of a bummer for me because I feel like we're working so hard all the
Yeah.
time from the when I
Yeah.
wake up to when I sleep, doing my
Yeah.
work and hobbies and lifting and all fun things. And I just imagine, like, I don't know, sometime I'll get to just relax, and not have to do all these things. I don't know, but I guess we're not built for that, right?
We are so not built for that. Think about the timeline of human existence. It's a big, long line. And up to about 100 years ago, we didn't sit down. We did. I mean, of course you'd sit down for dinner and you'd sit down to relax and the rest between working and doing hard things. But go back 100 years, especially 200 years, and we just weren't sedentary. But we also weren't obese. I mean, the morbidly obese people were in a circus. They were the circus attraction. Other than that, you didn't see them because everybody was moving, and we all lived in the woods, and we didn't have these big concrete jungles, and people were doing. We didn't have microwaves and buttons and cars and automatic everything. We had to do stuff, and that was normal. We didn't feel like we were working back then because it was normal. But that's what I would tell people is start doing more movement now. So then when you retire, it's part of your identity. And then you don't feel like you have to. It's just who you are, and you do because you do. And then you're going to be active. And then that stuff is fun. It's what you want to do. It's not because you have to do it. It's because you want to do it.
I know. Me and Said had a bit of a debate yesterday about like gym culture and like how you can push yourself even harder if there's someone yelling at you. So let's say I'm working with a gym buddy and like, my gym buddy's pushing me, come on. And we like, you're such a little baby. Another 2 reps, another one. And Said was like, you can get more gains that way. But I'm saying, I don't want it to be such a stressful experience for me. It's nice to just go and do the movements. And maybe I'm not pushing myself as far as I could go. But, I'm rather have more consistency over time and less stress.
Totally. Well, and that's why a lot of people come to the X Gym online or the gym because it's 21 minutes twice a week. And so a lot of retired people come to the X Gym. They don't want to spend their retirement in a gym every day. They want to get it done quick. And so that's all they need is just 42 minutes a week. And then they can go do other stuff. But what I tell people is don't just let this be your life. Don't get you should also do other active, fun stuff. It doesn't even have to be a workout. It can just be out hiking, biking, kayaking, paddleboarding, whatever is fun for you, playing soccer with your kids and grandkids. Just do fun stuff. Walking is great. Walking is awesome, especially out in nature in the forest. Nowadays, we call that forest bathing. We have a name for it. Where 200 years ago, it's what everybody did every day. So they would think that name was ridiculous, but we have to name it now because of all our concrete jungles. And there's amazing health benefits to that. So if somebody doesn't know where to start there. Just go for a walk in the woods. Find some woods and go for a walk.
So many good hacks so far. Said?
I wanted to go back to what we were discussing when we mentioned obesity. I wanted to see your perspective on what is the source that led to the normalization of obesity within within culture. Like why we're just like it's fine to be fat, or people are just okay with it.
Have you ever read the book The Tipping Point? Malcolm Gladwell, Tipping Point?
I don't think
I haven't.
There's a book and there's a rewrite. Or Revenge of the Tipping Point, I think is the second version. Great book. And that explains it. It's a tipping point. So in most populations, when you get to about 20-25%, that can normalize it, and can also create a tipping point where there's acceleration of that. We're well past 25%.
Wow.
So, yeah. And
Yeah.
that's why it's normal, because there's so many that are that way. And then we jumped up during COVID, because when that sent everybody home and locked everybody down, and then created a new work culture, work from home, that didn't stop after the lockdowns. Now we have even more people who are sedentary, and people who have established the habit during the lockdowns of ordering food that's delivered to their door. And so now, before COVID, we were certainly pursuing comfort, but after COVID, now it's the relentless, aggressive pursuit of comfort with all the habits that we picked up from being at home all the time. So now people aren't shopping, prepping, cutting, using in their kitchen for prepping and preparing food, chopping it up, cooking it. They're just ordering. So people show up at their door, it's already cooked, and if it's cooled off a little bit, they stick it in their microwave for a couple minutes, and there's no effort and there's no work, and it's giving people license to be sedentary. And so people got even heavier during that, and it's normalized even more, and it's just kind of accelerating. And it's really sad, because our country has the most personal trainers per capita in the world.
Wow.
And we're also arguably the largest and fattest country also in the world.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you're a junk,
irony. Yeah.
I know. Yeah. And if you were a junk science statistician, you would say that personal trainers are making people fat, because you could draw a line.
Correlation. Yeah, that is a correlation. That is right? So funny.
But it's just
wow.
Speaks to the tragedy of what's happened in this country. And it's the pursuit of comfort is what it is.
So a lot of people will say, "Oh, you are weak," or like you're a baby, or you have no willpower, or stuff like that, to people who are out of shape. I mean, is that true, or is that just a lie?
It's a lie. It's not about willpower. It's about how we program our brain. Because the good news is we can program our brain. The bad news is the boss of us, the brain boss of us, is our subconscious. And that operates at about the level of a 3-year-old.
Right.
So, so a toddler is in charge. And the good news is that our prefrontal cortex I call it our parent brain, can program and train the toddler. But most people don't know this basic fact. And so they just run around with the toddler controlling them. Toddlers like the status quo. Toddlers like to be comfortable. They don't like to do hard stuff. And they're narcissistic, and they should be. All toddlers care mostly about themselves and about their own comfort and about keeping things the same, staying within their comfort zone. And that's normal. We all were like that. So there's nothing wrong with it. It's just the way a toddler is wired. That's the way our subconscious is wired. That's who lives inside us. So I named mine Timmy, and I talk to Timmy all the time. And I use my PFC, prefrontal cortex, to train Timmy. And now, because Timmy's in charge of me and always will be, and because I've trained him and wired him and rewired him how I want him to, all his beliefs and actions, then it's not hard for me to maintain really good fitness and strength and habits and patterns, because Timmy is on my side. Whereas most people, their toddler is their enemy, and the toddler's working against them.
And so you're talking about habits, and how habits become kind of part of who you are, rewires your whole brain, and then you're not able to go a day without following the certain lifestyle.
Right.
And we're fighting against all our history of bad habits, pretty much. And
we are. And if you don't know about your toddler and you don't know how to train your toddler, then the bad habits are going to run you. And a bad habit is really easy to form, because a bad habit is usually formed based on the toddler's desire for comfort and selfishness and all that kind of stuff. But The first step is just knowing this is the knowledge. The second step is learning how to train that toddler. And that's why I developed my brain type test, because then people can learn how to train their toddler based on their own brain wiring. But what I tell people that haven't taken it is start with just talking to your toddler, because that's step 2. Step 1 is knowing this exists and knowing your toddler is in there. Step 2 is anything that works on a toddler is probably going to work on your subconscious. So just think back, if you've had a toddler, what was effective? How did you train that toddler? And start doing that stuff. Name your toddler, start talking to your toddler, and embrace your toddler and love your toddler, because that's what a good parent does. And then just do things to train it, so then it starts to work for you, not against you.
Okay. Syed, you ready? Let's do a bit of a role play situation. I'm the toddler, you're the prefrontal cortex, okay? So we're waking up. I'm like, I want to have a milkshake and play Fortnite all day. What would you do?
All right, kid. This is what's going to happen. You're going to shut the fuck up. You're not going to take that milkshake, and you're not going to play Fortnite. You're going to get your ass out of bed. You're going to go for a walk, and you're just going to start moving. Going to start exercising those muscles.
Mm-hmm.
How'd I do, PJ?
Actually, for some brain types, that's not bad. Yeah. Now, what you were doing is you were kind of joking around, but for certain brain types, like the more forceful approach, other brain types more like the more coddling, gentle approach. So that's not completely absurd what you did. It would be refined a little bit. And what I would say to you is talk to your toddler as if you would to your friend. So your friend has this problem. Your friend wants to sleep in and play Fortnite all day. How are you gonna talk to your friend? It's your best friend, because you really want to help your best friend. And it's going to be different based on who your best friend is. Some best friends are going to want the military style motivation. True. Other best friends are going to want, but just so you get to know your toddler and make your toddler your best friend, and then talk to your toddler in that way in order to get the quickest response and rewiring of that toddler.
Right. For me personally, I think the forceful part kind of encourages me, as in like, if I'm starting to show a bit of like, maybe a bit of laziness or a lack of discipline, I'll be like, come on, get up. I'll say to myself in a playful way as well. I think for Ali, maybe it's the opposite. I think Ali likes to be a bit more coddled. And what I did to him was more of my the style I would do to myself. So that's why it didn't work.
Great. Yeah. The first key is just to get in touch with your toddler, talk to your toddler, and try different approaches, and you'll kind of get a gut feel of what's working or not. And the more you talk to your toddler, the more you'll get to know your toddler, and then the more effective you'll be talking to your toddler.
Just to pivot a little bit, dopamine detoxes. Is that genius, or is that like some snake oil scammery?
Well, it's the source that's stimulating your dopamine. So if the source is social media scrolling, then you got to figure out a way to cut back and detox from that, because that's not actual real dopamine. You're getting little tiny hits. It's the anticipation of a reward that gives you the biggest dopamine surge. And that's where social media is brilliant, and they know dopamine. The designers behind it are experts on dopamine. That's how they get you hooked. And when you are anticipating, you're scrolling, anticipating your next, oh my gosh, or laughter, or or learning something, or whatever it is, that's where you're getting the dopamine, the biggest release of dopamine. And so the problem is people that are scrolling for minutes or hours on end are changing their dopamine baseline. And so because they're getting so much dopamine that whole time without any work associated with it, it's false dopamine. It's raising their baseline. Now they're addicted, Now they have to have it, just like a drug user has to use more and more drugs. Same thing with dopamine. The drug user has changed their baseline. Dopamine users, same thing. Dopamine it's a neurotransmitter or a drug, and you can call it either one. And once your baseline is bumped up, then you're in trouble because now you have to meet that new baseline. But once you realize this process and then start cutting back, it's easier to cut back than to go just cold turkey. But again, that depends on who you are. I'm more of a cold turkey guy. In fact, I was what was the program? I think it was Instagram, maybe. No, TikTok. It was TikTok. And this was a couple of years ago. And so I was surfing TikTok and mainly to learn things because, I'm a lifelong learner and my brain loves to learn new things. And my wife commented, and while I'm scrolling, time just disappears. And so I will look at my watch 2 hours later thinking 10 minutes had gone by. I'm like, oh, what the heck? Oh my gosh. Now I'm not going to get everything done today. Where did the time go? And so my wife just jokingly said one day, hey, it looks like you're addicted to TikTok. And I couldn't refute it. I was like, because I look back on all those 2 hour segments that I blinked out on. It's like a blackout. I'm like, yeah, actually, I am. And I just quit cold turkey. And some people can do that. It depends on who you are and your personality, but for sure, cut back. I mean, just this morning, I posted on my X, I said, here's a thought experiment. See, I wonder how many people could actually do this. Is first, just track how much time you're scrolling every day. And then write it down. That's the time that you did. Now spend that same amount of time in prayer and Bible reading. Or reverse it. Do the prayer and Bible reading first, record that amount of time, and now that's your allowance for scrolling.
For 8 hours? Oh my
That's and it's just a thought experience. I'm not telling anybody to do it, but it just gets people thinking. They're like, oh my gosh. Or put anything in there. Put, exercise. So record your time scrolling and now do that same amount of time exercising. Well, you probably wouldn't have any time left in the day if you were being honest with ourselves. And so it kind of puts it in perspective. But just the first step of recording how much time you're scrolling is an eye opener because of the effect that I mentioned earlier of time disappearing, which happens when you're in the zone or when you're on dopamine. Just time just disappears and just flies, and you look at your watch, you think, my watch can't be right. What the heck happened? But that's dopamine at work.
I see. So you can use it to your advantage. Like, for example, like in this pod, we can have a really engaging pod and it will go by quick and it will be fun and we'll have laughs and be in chian. So that's one of the positive uses. Or you talked about working out, right? You're at the gym, you're giving it your all. Next thing you know, an hour and a half passes by and you did your workout. So those are the positive uses as opposed to the negative uses, which is, let's say, all the time wasted from scrolling.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. And you don't want to bump up your dopamine baseline on false dopamine is what I mean, dopamine's dopamine, right? But the way that dopamine is where you can create a healthy baseline is where you are addicted to the process. So if you get your dopamine from working out, but not the finish line, the goal, then you're addicted to the process. Or it goes with work. If you're an entrepreneur and you like innovating business strategies or creating systems in your business, that's whatever gets you excited about doing what you do, that's your social dopamine. It's not the actual event or finish line. So when a gold medalist, people who have developed high levels of discipline, like a gold medalist, are addicted to the process, not to the gold medal. When they get the gold medal, sure, they're emotional and it's amazing and oh my gosh, but that goes away. And the reason they go back to it is because they're addicted to the training and the process. Same goes for a blackjack person who's an expert in playing blackjack. When they win, that feels great, but then they go back to it. And same thing with lottery tickets. People that buy lottery tickets are addicted to the feeling, the anticipation of winning. That's what they're addicted to. So they win the lottery, they get $100 million. And because they have, money habits, horrible money habits to start with, they usually lose it all and go into massive debt. But after they win, they're still playing, because it wasn't the win that gave them the final thing that they were after. It was the anticipation of winning that they're addicted to, that they were getting their dopamine from. But that's a false dopamine, because that's not a process that involves work. So this is the defining difference between false dopamine and real dopamine, and a healthy baseline or an unhealthy baseline. You can push the baseline too high with getting dopamine through a process that doesn't involve work, like scrolling in lottery tickets or blackjack, versus a healthy baseline where you've established your healthy baseline from dopamine that involves work in the process. The entrepreneur or the exercise or the Olympian. So that's the difference, work or no work.
Wow.
So how can we, we were talking about building habits, and to get that true dopamine, we need to have the right habits to be able to, get that feeling, so that we can get rid of obviously the bad habits. Yeah. So what is like the best process from your perspective to build these positive habits that can lead to real dopamine?
Yeah. And that's different between different brain types. But right. One of the common threads with most brain types is start small and make that part of your routine. Put it on your calendar so it's an appointment. Mm-hmm. Or use the trigger technique is another one that's common between the majority of the brain types. And what I mean by trigger technique is you put your shoes out in front in your running shoes. If you're going for a walk, you put your walking shoes out in a place that you're going to see them or even trip over them because they're obvious, to trigger you, remind you, and motivate you to go do that thing. The trigger technique also has the advantage of putting you a step ahead. So anytime a project or a new habit that you're forming is easier, you can make it easier to form, the more likely you are to form it. And they learned about this. Well, they most recently showed this with an example of a coffee shop. So they had a punch card, the frequent coffee visit punch card. And there was one barista that was cheating, but to the customer's advantage. So this barista would give people their punch card. Normally you give them a blank punch card without any punches. But this barista punched 2. They said, hey, don't tell anybody, but I'm going to punch 2 on this. Here's your punch card. And what they found was people that got their cards from that barista were using their punch cards way more than people that got the normal blank punch card without any punches in it. Because that barista gave him a couple steps ahead in the process. And so instead of firing that barista, the owner told all the other ones to do the same thing.
Wow.
So the trigger technique is kind of like that. I use it myself when I'm food prepping. So if I know that I'm gonna have a complicated recipe the next day, what I'll do is I'll put all the ingredients on the counter, and I'll set up the blender for the so now I've done 2 things in the process of that. It didn't take much time to do all those things, but now I'm gonna do this big huge project tomorrow because I'm gonna see, I've already made some progress here, and there's no way I'm gonna I'm not going to do it and put all the food away and put the blender back. Let's just finish. And that's part of the value of the trigger technique. But that combined with starting with small steps, a habit and a pattern that's easy to establish because it's a small step. Like, for instance, going outside of your house and walking around it. That's step number 1 to get a walking habit. And you put that in your phone as an appointment. And you have the option of going farther if you want, but you don't have to, and you shouldn't feel like you're obligated to. And then when walking around the house becomes boring, then you step it up to walking around your block. Or if you don't have a block, then just walking two times around the house, or walking down the street. And then you're incrementally titrating up with your habit, so it's still easy to do, and then your comfort zone expands over time. So what you define as easy to do gets more, and now you've established this habit because you do it every day, and because now it's part of your routine. Then it becomes part of your wiring, and now your toddler is somebody who walks every day, and your toddler's not afraid to expand it a little bit more every day. And that's the easiest way to develop a habit. Now, some people would think, oh, that takes too long. And, you have your lifetime, right? And so why rush it? Because a lot of times when people rush too fast, like New Year's resolutionists who on January 2nd, they resolve to work out 2 hours every single day. That's just too much, too soon. And so it's really hard to establish that habit. But this would be one of the many ways to do it. And I would combine these two. I would say, do the small step thing, titrating up, putting it as an appointment along with the trigger technique. And that would cover the majority of the brain types.
Yeah, I can give examples for like both actually, from my personal experience. And they were pretty natural. Like for the gym, that one was my personal decision. I put myself where I was trying to go at least twice a week. And then with time, I was finding like random gaps in time throughout the day for myself, throughout the week. And then I started noticing that whenever I find a gap, I'll go to the gym. And then eventually it started becoming 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5. Now if I don't go, like if I miss one of those days, I feel really guilty. And then for the other example where you just take a plunge, I recently went on a run. I'm not a fan of running, but I prefer hiking more, kind of like stair climbing. But my friends were going on a run, like they do marathons. So I was like, let me just try it out. I did 1 or 2 runs with them, and I was like, I really hate this, to be honest. But then I did not enjoy it. But then I signed up for a marathon. I was like, fuck it, let's do this. I ran the marathon and I felt really good. So now I incorporate it at least once a week. I go on a run, and
Yeah,
it's now part of my routine.
great. I love it. Yeah, that's a perfect example and a perfect story of how this works.
Just to pivot a bit, I want to ask you about some exercises that are good or not good in the gym. So, can you just tell us maybe one exercise that you would ban from every gym, and then maybe like 4 or 5 exercises that are a must do for each person every week?
I don't think there are any exercises that I would ban from the gym. It would be more like the form that you're using in that exercise. Personally, I don't like machines because machines have levers and guide rods and hinges that guide your movement. I am more into functional training. Now, that's just me. There are other people that love isolation and love machines, and that motivates them. Great, you should do them. Or bodybuilder, they should do machines because they need the isolation. But for the rest of us that want more functional training, of real life stuff, then we are doing the free motion, where like suspension training or cable machines, dumbbells, free weights, those kinds of things, physio balls, carpet sliders, all those options. And that's what X Gym is full of. We don't have machines. It's all the functional training and elastic tubing, straps, that kind of stuff, where you're in control of 100% of your range of motion. Your brain and your nervous system has to control it. So you increase coordination, get better at sports, and you find real life fun stuff a lot easier. I have a 2-year-old grandson, and I just love running around with him and just doing really fun, climbing on the jungle gym with him and all that stuff. And I'll be still doing that when hopefully, when he has kids, there'll be my great grandkids. That's my goal. Is I want to be climbing on the jungle gym with my great grandkids.
You got it.
Yeah.
I mean, you look great for a grandfather as well. So you're already doing great. Thanks. This far.
And my granddaughters do any day. So literally could be during this podcast that I get a call.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. What about let's say 4 or 5 exercises that you have to do, you should not skip if you're trying to develop?
Yeah, I think the number one is a nice deep squat.
Hey.
Now, you don't need any weight for that. And
that's so funny.
Yeah.
Say skip leg day. Leg day is not important. Who needs legs?
Exactly.
Seriously.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
Well, you're using the most muscle fibers with that exercise of any exercise. And so it's the least comfortable. So people who are pursuing comfort, which is most people, put that last on their list. But it should be first. Now, you also asked me if there was an exercise I would ban. And so if I were to ban any exercise, it would be squats with a big, super heavy barbell resting on your neck, because our spine is not meant for that.
Oh.
So I would go, there's nothing wrong with squats with the barbell on your neck, but I would use devices that would spread it out over my traps. And there's called I think it's the Manta that clips on the bar and it spreads the force out. So it's not on 2 vertebrae. It's spread out across your whole upper back.
Yes.
And the barbell pad helps with that too. But what I'm talking about, it spreads it out even more. I just avoid it completely. I just don't put barbells on my neck. So I will hold dumbbells in my hands. Or we have a machine at X Gym we call it the X-Scream machine. And it's a winch. It's an electric winch. And, I have a whole rubber strap system that I use that's flexible, so I can do squats, but it's lower, or I'll put a belt around my waist, and then the winch, I'm fighting the winch. So that's the heaviest I'll go, but it's not loading my spine directly on my spine. So that's the one I would ban. But you can do squats in lots of different ways. How somebody could do it for starters without any weight at all is just to slow down. So if you want to pretend, let's say you are a traditional lifter and your form is dependent on the barbell because that's what you're used to. Great. Go grab a broomstick. That's your barbell now. Hang on to it just like you would a barbell. Make sure it's really good form.
Do one of these.
And do your squat. Do your squat with only your body weight, but it takes 30 seconds to do that range of motion. So go down to 15 seconds. Go as low as you can, whatever's safe for you. And then start really slow out of the bottom, because you're going to take 15 seconds to get to the top. But the top is not a lockout. The top is only 2/3 of the way up. So when you get to the top, you're still contracting. Muscles are not relaxing. And then head back down to 15 seconds. And now at the bottom, you're going to pause for 3 seconds, because that's the sweet spot. That's the best part of the range. And then you're going to start up really slow out of the bottom, 15 seconds up, 15 seconds down. See how many squats you can do that way with your broomstick. There, Saeed, you got it.
So now
that's good. Start at the bottom, nice and low. Now, count to 15 seconds as you come up, but only come up 2/3 of the way. Barely moving. Crazy slow, way slower than you think you should go. And only 2/3 of the way. So your knees are still bent, your quads are still contracting. Head and shoulders back, spine as vertical as you can. Yeah, and keep it vertical. It'll go forward a little bit as you come down, and that's okay. But now back down. 15 seconds. Crazy slow. See, that was fast going down.
Slow? Okay.
Yeah, slow down, slow up. Yes. It's you can't go too slow on this because you're actually going for time. You're not going for reps. So what somebody could say is, I'm going to see how few reps I can do in the amount of time it takes me to get to complete muscle failure.
I see.
Yeah, so crazy slow. It's time, it's not reps. And it's partial range, so you're not going to the top. You are going to your lowest bottom, but you're not going to the top. So your muscles have to stay in contraction. They can't ever rest, because if you did go to lockout, all it takes is a quarter second for the muscle cell to refuel. You're trying to avoid that here. So you don't go to lockout. You just go to that point where it's still contracting. There, see? And I can take a power lifter or a bodybuilder through the same exercise. They will not last past 2 minutes, guarantee you. And it's just their body weight. Now, you can train for this, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. And as you're getting better at it, you're increasing your endurance and your strength. Now, doing this without heavy weights, the only way to increase your strength in this is to go to failure at the end. So you couldn't get to the top if you wanted to. Gravity sucks you down. You cannot complete the rep. So your last rep is a rep that you cannot complete. You can't get up. You're stuck. You're truly physically stuck. You can't get to the top anymore. That's failure. That's when you're strength training. Okay. So most of this is endurance training. And at the end, it's strength training.
I see.
Yeah.
Wow.
So how much would be the one exercise? Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And now I think we were asked also about like 4 exercises to. So what were the 2 other exercises? We said deep squat, yes. Mm-hmm. We said, wait, what were the other 3?
Push-ups is great.
Push-ups.
And you do those the same way. And you know, with smaller range exercises, it's like 7 or 8 seconds, because push-ups is smaller range than squats. So, or actually, no, it would be the other way around. So you could do squats to 7 seconds and push-ups to 15. Okay. So the smaller range exercises, you want to slow down a little bit more. So you're getting the same time under tension, playing the same game of, let's see how few reps I can do in 2 minutes. So you set your time limit, and then you go to 2 minutes, and then you're probably not going to make it that long. But if you're doing it right, if you lock out at the top, you'll go for longer than that. But if you don't, you're doing it right, you won't. Okay, we're good. Here we go. See, it's going for it. So now, really good form. Your hips stay a little bit piked, a little bit higher than everything else. So when you come down, you're touching your chest only. Crazy slow coming down. And at the bottom, it's a light touch. So if a heavy touch will give you an offload, that'll give you a rest and refueling in the muscle cells, which you're trying to stay away from. And then the bottom is a really slow start, because everybody wants to jump out of the bottom, because that's the hardest part. It's because it's the best part. So just crazy slow down to the bottom. Even pause. You could touch a light touch and then even pause down there for a second or two to make sure you're going to slow start, barely moving coming up, only 2/3 of the way up, and then crazy slow coming down again. There's nothing magic about 7 seconds or 15 seconds. It's just as slow as you can go. And staying in partial ranges so you're not able to rest at the top or the bottom of any exercise.
Okay, a quick question on this. So people would say you need to boost your amount of like reps, right? Mm-hmm. Like, oh, we're pushing for 20 push-ups, 30 push-ups, 40 push-ups. Mm-hmm. Versus what you're saying is, no, it's not about the amount of push-ups you're doing. It's about the duration of time.
Yep. Time under tension.
Yeah. Wow.
And Saeed, you talked about, going just a quick trip to the gym earlier. And it doesn't take much. I mean, you just did two things that I call exercise snacks. And you saw how quick they are. It doesn't take much time. And you don't have to string them all together. For super busy people that keep saying, oh, I don't have time to work out. Well, you have time for exercise snacks. You can even do it while you're listening to a podcast, or you can do it while you're watching TV. It's amazing how much time busy people have for scrolling and for TV. Yeah. So then habit stack. Then, stack it. Right. Keep watching TV. That's fine. Or just scrolling or whatever you're addicted to. But now stack. Do an exercise snacks while you're doing those things. It takes 2 minutes, 3 minutes at the most to get everything out of that exercise, and just do one at a time throughout the day. Just take little breaks and do your snacks.
Yeah, I mean, it's so easy, and it's not time consuming. Once you get used to it, this should be something that you directly think of doing. Even at work, if you just have if you want to take a small break from work, beside your desk, whatever, just do it. Obviously, it's up to you if you don't feel embarrassed in front of your coworkers. You're just in the middle of the hallway. Yeah. But you can find a way, I guess.
You can. And if your work environment is conducive to that, other people are probably going to join you. They're going to think it's funny at first, and people are going to make fun of you, and you can laugh with them. Yeah, I know. I'm a nerd. I'm a geek, but this is just what I do. It is kind of fun. Pretty soon they're going to get jealous, and they're going to think, oh, yeah, maybe. Well, and then you can even invite them. You can say, hey, join me for one rep of this. Let's just do this one rep together, and then you're done. You go back to your desk. And then it's a fun thing, and you're laughing, and you're encouraging them, and then they do their one rep, and you keep going, but they're done. And then you say, oh, wow, that was great. You did really well. The form was good, and you followed my lead and my speed and so, wow, that was good. You're welcome to join me anytime, even if it's just one rep. And then you can start to influence others. Yeah.
It's a good way to connect that way.
Totally.
Something I wanted to ask about weightlifting was how much of it is ego lifting and how much of it is actually strength training. And to give an example is when people say that they want to increase their max weight or max rep, and they do maybe only one rep of their max weight, is it better to do that one rep, or is it better to just do maybe 80 or 70% of that weight and do more reps of it instead? So 12 reps.
Well, yeah, 90 something percent of the time, if somebody wants to increase their bench, it's ego lifting, because they just care about the weight. Okay. However, there's nothing wrong with wanting to increase your bench. You can also tell if it's ego lifting by who you want to be watching you at the gym, or who you want to impress with the weight that you're lifting at the gym. So people who train by themselves that are trying to increase their bench press max, that aren't going to they don't care about telling anybody about it later, but it's just a personal thing. That's not ego lifting. Yeah. But it kind of depends on the result. If you want to be able to say it to other people, or you want other people to see it, then it's ego lifting. Now, having said all that, it's not necessarily bad, because the gyms are full of people who ego lift because they care more about affirmations and what other people think about them. But if that's what gets them there and keeps them going with this healthy habit of exercise, great. I'm all for it. Keep it up. It's something you might want to work on a little bit, just because you want to get your self-image from yourself. But if it's getting you there and keeping you there, great. Keep doing it, and let those be your goal for now, because, and especially until you establish this habit as a lifestyle. If that's what it takes, some brain types need that. Great. More power to you.
Hopefully they get self-awareness while doing this good habit as well.
Bingo. 100%. Exactly.
Excellent.
Very few people who ego lift when they're young are still lifting when they're old. So that goes to your point you just said of, hopefully they'll get something, they'll be able to transform themselves internally along the way. But if it's what gets people started, that's great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I don't
at
get
some
about
point.
those pro bodybuilders that take way too much, steroids, and they ruin their
Yeah.
bodies, and they're trying to push themselves too hard. I'm like, if you really love this as a sport, don't you want to be doing this when you're older and not just
Yeah.
for a limited amount of time? If this is your
Right.
identity and who you are, and you want to die doing this, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's such a weird thing. And I want to ask you about TRT real quick. Just
Yeah.
TRT, testosterone replacement therapy.
Right.
So many people are talking about it. And I feel like it's weird that people are replacing their testosterone. Is that, is it a scam? Is it real? Is it the fountain of youth? Or does it have like hidden costs?
Mm-hmm. It does. It's less risky than anabolic steroids. Because with a pro anabolic steroid bodybuilder, they're also taking other things like growth hormone, and they're stacking different types of testosterone and cycling and all this stuff. It's very complicated. And there's no way to do it a healthy way, but there's the good ones, the pros that, they're going to be getting their supplies from Europe instead of Mexico, and they're going to be doing things that minimize or mitigate, but they're still going to be their health. They're devastating their health, internal organs, aging process, everything. Now with TRT, testosterone replacement therapy, there are some people who, like maybe 60s at the earliest, for sure, men in their 70s. Maybe there's something to it. I mean, I never have, and I plan on. I'm not against it, and maybe down the road someday, I might consider it. But having the healthy nutrition and exercise lifestyle that I do now, I don't need to. Now, the whole thing with TRT is, for some reason, people vilify men who do TRT, yet they're fine with women who do HRT.
Yeah.
So men and women both go through changes. In healthy men and women both go through changes in their late 50s, early 60s. Right. Women, it's called menopause. And sometimes men jokingly call it menopause. But there are changes that happen. And now, if you're unhealthy, it can even start to happen in your 40s. But if you're healthy, it's delayed until, I haven't really noticed anything yet. I'm 59, and I get blood tested twice a year for all hormones and hundreds of different tests twice a year, because I'm a biohacker too. I just don't need it. And I don't feel, but I'm open to it later on. If I do need it, I'm still going to be doing blood testing for forever. And I'm going to be watching all my levels, and I'm watching more than just free testosterone and total testosterone. I'm watching other things too, because it's a combination of lots of things. Now, if I start to see alterations and drops in those lots of things, then I'm going to be, as a biohacker, I know what to do naturally with supplements and food and exercise. So I'm going to be trying those things first. But if I ever get to the point where I've tried everything and I still, and things are declining regardless of everything that I try, I might consider it myself. But I can't see this until I'm probably 70 or older, because I'm so on track right now. And I'm not going to have any steep declines because I'm not aging fast. So but for other people that are in a different situation, or maybe have different genetics or challenges or whatever it is, anybody that's past 50, I'm not going to judge them for doing TRT, because they might be a different case. Maybe they do need it. Some people just do it because they're lazy and they just want a shortcut, and that's not a good idea. Because there can be side effects. Because even though it's not high doses like anabolic steroids, it's still taking something exogenous, that's not natural. Even if it's hormone identical, it's better, but it's still not you. And so, yes, it does have effects. And if I ever considered it down the road, I would also be willing to have any side effects that come with it because of the benefits. So you have to do your own cost benefit analysis. Do the potential side effects outweigh the potential benefits, or is it the other way? And just then you make your decision. But it's no different than HRT for menopausal women,
right?
For the same age men, TRT for men, HRT for women. They're both fine. If it's going to help you and the benefits outweigh the risks, then I'm all for it.
Okay, I'm glad you clarified that, and I appreciate your honesty on that.
Yeah.
Saeed, do you have anything else? Or there was one more thing I wanted to ask.
Mm-hmm.
I guess let me go.
Mm-hmm.
Talking about honesty, what's one politically incorrect opinion you have about health that experts will not say out loud?
About health.
That's the last one for me.
Yeah. So experts are going to say that health, so aging and health, experts are going to, and by experts, I'm thinking of allopathic medical doctors.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to say genetics is the main issue with your health. Your health is most dependent on genetics, and my solution for that is drugs.
Yeah.
That's what you're going to hear from your classically trained medical doctor in allopathic medicine.
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of medical doctors that won't say that. But what they should be saying is, oh, there's a problem. Because people go to the doctor either for just a checkup where they might find a problem or because they have a problem with their health. And the doctor is more likely, an MD is more likely to get out his prescription pad. But there are some good MDs out there that will say, oh, let's figure out what's causing this. Let's go to the root cause. And let's figure out a path to solution that doesn't involve drugs yet. And they're probably going to go to diet. Now, if an MD talks to somebody about their nutrition habits, then that's an MD that studied them outside of medical school because medical school doesn't provide that training.
Wow.
Yeah. And Rockefeller founded medical schools from, the early 1900s are specifically omit nutrition because it is so powerful. So a good doctor is going to go there first. And then second, he's going to say, let's talk about your activity. Start with walking and let's get you moving. That's what a good doctor is going to say. So I guess the myth would be, yeah, I can help you with that. Here's my prescription. And this will be your solution. Because just talking about diabetes, for instance, when people go and they're diagnosed by the doctor with type 2 diabetes, which is reversible in 99% of the cases, because when it's not, it's called type 1. But type 2 is something that you caused yourself in most cases, and it's reversible by not doing what caused it in the first place. So, but when the MD gets you and they diagnose you with that, they say, oh yeah, you got diabetes. So here's your prescription for, if it's slight, it's metformin. If it's more severe, it's insulin. And so whether it's oral or injectable, here's your prescription. This is who you are now. And then the patient might say, well, should I change anything? No, you just have diabetes and here's your prescription. That's what the majority, more than 51% will say and do. A, because they're busy. B, because they just don't know any better. C, because, whatever reason they're getting kickbacks or, whatever. I don't want to go down a whole conspiracy theory rabbit hole here, but it's the problem is the allopathic medicine training with the doctors that don't do their own research outside of medical school and learn stuff on their own that they're not given in medical school. Those are the problems. And those are the ones that create these myths.
Wow.
All right. For me, I think my final question would be, what's something you, in the realm of fitness and health, you wish you started earlier and that you would advise people to start earlier?
Eating better. So I started training in high school, and because of my high school level hormones and all that stuff, I got great results, even though I was eating junk food. I really didn't start eating super healthy and phased into militant fanatic healthy, which I am now. but I don't feel like I'm militant fanatic with myself, because it's who I am now. It's how my brain is wired. I just wish I would have started it sooner than my 30s, which is when I really got serious, and then became really healthy, really more kind of 40-ish. So it was a 10-year phase, starting healthy to getting crazy, really healthy. But because had I started it then, I would be even younger now. I mean, people say that I look 39, and even though I'm 59, and they say that, and I know that I feel 29, and I can outperform over 90% of 19-year-olds. So I'm spanning decades here, but I would be spanning even more decades had I started even earlier. So if I had started eating healthy in high school when I started lifting,
then, you want to beat everyone in your 80s.
Yeah. I mean, right now, as it is, when I tell people my age, they make me prove it by showing them my driver's license, because they just assume that I'm lying. But had I started in high school, I'd probably be getting, people would be calling the mental institution to come pick me up, because I'd be that much younger. So
I'm imagining the bouncer stopping you at the door for ID.
Exactly. Yes, that's what would be happening. So I encourage everybody, start as early as you can. But even if you haven't, even somebody here that's listening and they're 70 years old and they haven't started yet, great. Today's your day. Start now, because you can still make great progress. And especially with strength training, they've even done studies comparing 80-year-olds to 20-year-olds, and they got the same, both groups being sedentary, so neither were trained groups. They got the same amount of muscle mass increase over 12 weeks. Same, no difference between the two groups. So it's never too late to start.
Fantastic. That's good news.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, this is a wrap. Thank you guys for watching another episode of A2 the Show. Please check out PJ's website and his X Gym and his book. We're gonna obviously put all the links in the description and YouTube. PJ, thank you so much for coming on. And this is how we sign out. Salute to the cover of the camera, and peace.
We're out. Thank you, PJ.